Faris Al-Rawi temporarily removed from Senate Privileges Committee, the man who cannot investigate himself. Faris Al-Rawi, the subject of a contempt investigation, was sitting on the very committee tasked with investigating him. Let that sink in. WZYE-TV checked. He did not recuse himself voluntarily. He had to be removed. Opposition Senator Faris Al-Rawi has been temporarily removed from the Senate's Committee of Privileges pending the outcome of the investigation involving himself and fellow opposition Senator Janelle John Bates. The confirmation came from Senate President Wade Mark, who serves as the committee's chairman. In announcing the reconstitution, Mark stated that in accordance with Standing Order 79, subsection 2, he had appointed 3 replacement members for the duration of the consideration of the 2 matters referred to the committee on May 1, 2026, Mr. Eli Zachar in lieu of Mr. Daryl Alahar, Dr. Amory Brown in lieu of Mr. Faris Al-Rawi, and Ms. Sophia Choate, SC in lieu of Mr. Michael S.V. de la Bastide. The referral of both John Bates and Al-Rawi to the committee stems from allegations of contempt of Parliament. What makes this development remarkable is not that Al-Rawi was removed. It is that he apparently had to be removed rather than removing himself. Guardian Media tried on several occasions to ask Al-Rawi whether he had offered to recuse himself from the committee, a reasonable and fundamental question given that he was simultaneously a member of the body and a subject of its investigation. Moments before the Senate president's announcement, as Al-Rawi made his way to the Red House, he was asked the question directly. His response was telling. He accused Guardian Media of looking for bacchanal and attempting to confront him, then stated that if he made the mistake of speaking about the Committee of Privileges, he would offend the standing orders and be held in contempt. In other words, the man who is already facing allegations of contempt cited the risk of contempt as his reason for not answering a straightforward question about whether he had the basic ethical instinct to step aside from judging his own case. WZY analysis. Let us be plain about what happened here. Faris Al-Rawi, a trained attorney and senior opposition senator, was sitting on a committee that was about to investigate allegations of contempt against him. The most elementary principle of natural justice, one that any first-year law student could recite, is that no person should be a judge in their own cause. This is not an obscure legal technicality. It is the foundation of procedural fairness in every democratic institution on earth. And yet Al-Rawi, by all available evidence, did not voluntarily recuse himself. He had to be replaced by a decision of the Senate president. This tells you everything you need to know about the PNM's relationship with accountability. When faced with an investigation into their own conduct, the instinct is not to step aside with dignity and allow the process to unfold. The instinct is to remain seated at the table, to deflect questions from the media, and to wrap silence in the language of procedural compliance. Al-Rawi did not refuse to answer because he respects the standing orders. He refused to answer because the question itself exposed an uncomfortable truth. He was content to sit in judgment of a matter in which he is the accused. His accusation that Guardian Media was seeking bacchanal is equally revealing. A journalist asking a senator whether he intends to recuse himself from an investigation into his own conduct is not bacchanal. It is the most basic function of a free press in a democratic society. The fact that Al-Rawi frames legitimate journalistic inquiry as confrontation tells you how accustomed the PNM has become to operating without scrutiny. For a decade, they governed with a media environment that largely accommodated their narrative. Now, when a reporter asks a direct question, it is treated as an act of aggression. The broader picture here is one of a PNM opposition that continues to demonstrate that the rules, in their view, apply to everyone except themselves. Al-Rawi is a man who built a political brand on parliamentary procedure and legal posturing. He lectured governments about governance. He invoked the Constitution with theatrical frequency. He positioned himself as the PNM's foremost authority on parliamentary propriety. And yet, when the machinery of parliamentary accountability turned in his direction, he did not lead by example. He did not step aside voluntarily. He did not demonstrate the principles he so freely demanded of others. He sat in his seat and waited to be moved. The citizens of Trinidad and Tobago should note this carefully. This is not about one committee or one investigation. This is about the character of the people who seek to lead this country. A leader with integrity recuses himself before anyone has to ask. A leader with respect for institutions removes himself from the equation the moment a conflict of interest arises. Al-Rawi did neither. And in doing neither, he confirmed what many have long suspected, that for the PNM, the rules of democratic accountability are instruments to be wielded against others, never to be applied to themselves. At WZYE-TV, we noted it. We recorded it. WZYE-TV, Caribbean News. No filter. No fear.